How much bad luck can someone have? And just how much pain can one person endure? These are the questions Tyler Perry seeks to answer in his jaw-droppingly absurd tale of a single mother accused of robbing a bank. What was trying to be a story about grief ends up being a parody. We meet Janaya on what has to be the worst day anyone's ever had. The whole movie feels like an atom bomb is about to be dropped on their heads. The score feels like it's from some tragic opera. The police costumes felt a bit cartoonish. Those vests were wearing them. We are introduced to Janaya as a struggling single mom taking care of her ailing daughter. I think the absurdity of the plot, especially the twist, undermines what could have been a very compelling story about a woman navigating her grief. From the start, every single person she meets can't stand her. Strangers ram her off the road. Her boss looks at her like he wants to slap her. Her landlord keeps threatening eviction. And this is very common in Tyler Perry movies. You have one character, normally the protagonist, that everyone seems to dislike. While at work, she gets a call from her daughter's school. And to be honest, even before the twist, something doesn't feel quite right about the situation. She's informed that her daughter will be taken away from her. And this is a spoiler alert, but we later find out that a lot of these scenarios never took place and her daughter has been dead. And I think what Tyler was trying to communicate was just how guilty Janaya feels about her daughter's death, which is why she keeps imagining herself in all these very violent and emotionally distressing situations. Janaya's very bad day gets worse when she's caught in the middle of a robbery. The dialogue in this film is very frustrating because everything is spoon-fed to us. Before dying, her boss manages to stay on the phone long enough to blame Janaya for everything. So the police show up knowing her first name, her last name, and not only that, assume she's guilty right off the bat. Then they don't really feel the need to investigate. While they search for her, Janaya goes across the street to cash her last check. Sadly, her luck fully depletes when she's unable to provide ID. Frustrated, she takes out a gun to speed up the process, and the bank teller's reaction is to give her more money, even though she clearly wasn't asking for more money. She just wanted to cash the check. And so the whole thing just escalates to the police being called. And I think less would have been more in this movie. Everything Janaya does is taken to such extremes. She asks to cash a check and they assume she wants to rob a bank. They see a blinking light in her backpack, they assume it's a bomb. And there are limits to assumptions. I mean, I'm a very paranoid person, but all these assumptions just feel very mean-spirited and just so out of line. Once the police are notified, the rest of the movie really revolves around Janaya trying to restore her reputation. And I think the movie could have been decent without that crazy twist. Besides Sherry Shepherd as Nicole, the bank manager, none of the other characters we're introduced to are explained or really expanded on in any way. The movie then proceeds to paint Janaya as a martyr for every struggling single mother in the world. It does this by having one of the bank attendants record her just when she's telling her story. And her story goes viral and nothing really comes from it besides people protesting or supporting her outside of the bank. And the intense public scrutiny really does nothing to move the needle regarding the plot. Because the film has no nuance, you're either very triggered or annoyed by everything Janaya is forced to go through. In terms of setting, the bank becomes this space for Janaya to remember her daughter and let her go for the very last time. And I think the twist about her daughter's death definitely could have been introduced early on, maybe through public scrutiny, maybe through one of the other bank tellers, because it just feels too little too late. Like, how would this information have changed public opinion? How would this information have affected Janaya's relationship to everyone in that bank? Well, we never find out. I thought Tiana Taylor gave a very strong performance as the only competent officer in this entire film. And the movie divides its time between the bank and time with these officers. And besides Detective Raymond, played by Tiana, none of these other police officers are really given anything to do. At one point, the FBI step in, and I'm not a negotiator, but apparently neither are they. There's this tension between Janaya and this white police officer, but it never goes anywhere. There was definitely a conversation to be had about whether or not Janaya was doing the right thing. However, these discussions are poorly carried out. There is one bank teller who is just totally against Janaya, and her reasons are what she's doing is not the right thing. But because there's no nuance to her character, she just comes off very annoying. And there's no character development. Like, this one bank teller hated her from the beginning and still hates her at the end. And just when you think it's over, they introduce this massive twist with, of course, a bunch of flashbacks to make it clear that everything that we had been seeing so far, or at least a good chunk of it has been in her head. The twist feels very unnatural, awkwardly placed, and I gasped not because I was shocked, but because I was offended. By the time Janaya fully accepts that her daughter is dead, it has absolutely no impact on the story. The only people that ever find this information out are the police and the bank manager, and you don't even get a sense that Janaya has found closure at the end. You just get a sense that she's very tired, as is the audience. And I don't know what to tell you about this film. When it comes to Tyler Perry movies, I go in with very low expectations. I think he has an uncanny ability to cast these amazing actors, and it's the actors that give these roles more nuance than I think the role actually deserves. And we've mentioned this before with Tyler Perry. I don't know why he refuses to hire a writer's room. I think movies like this are perfect for Netflix, but we did not need to he takes it to levels that are just so beyond, you're just like confused and offended at the end. And so I think the acting was exceptional. I think in terms of look, actually, this was one of Tyler Perry's better films. Like, the movie did look great. I mean, it looked really depressing, but I felt that it looked a lot better than a lot of his other films. In terms of plot, I mean, if you don't have a good story, you don't have anything, right? You guys let me know what you think, and until next time.